Gary Johnson and Marcus.
Well, as I said earlier, this is a show that we have clean conversations that just non-biased about the topics of the day, yesterday and today, and what maybe tomorrow. And we bring you important information that we think you should know about in a non-biased way. And as I said, we don't take sides with anybody. We just bring you the facts and having a clean conversation. Mr. Grove, so much have been happening over the last few days and over the weekend. And I think it deserves to have a conversation about it today. We talked about it a little bit as it happened on last week, and that's the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk and the arrest of his shooter. Also, what's been happening, we had a couple of debates that have happened. One was last night, and I think one is actually going on right now online for the Mobile Mayoral race, runoff race. Then yesterday, another disturbing piece of news came out over in Mississippi at Delta State University, where they found a young man hung from a tree. That and much more, man, is happening, and we're going to try to talk about it all today on this show. What's on your mind?
Well, all of what you just said, I think that it's a trying time. And everything that's going on, regardless if you are on the left side of the aisle, the right side of the aisle, black, white, blue, or green, Republican, Democrat, you're all dealing with it. But at the same time, regardless of who you are or what affiliation you have, it's hard to not think about the implications and the impact that the president, the leader of this free world country, is having on such situations. We have to understand that in no form or fashion can we deny the impact that Donald Trump is having on cities, local governments, on states elections, and within this world. You can blame maybe Charlie Kirk for his comments, or you can blame the shooter for the comments. Some people blame the gun. You can blame a lot of different situations and people around it. But at the end of every story lies the actions of Donald Trump and what he has brought on this country.
And you're right. A lot have happened since this assassination of Charlie Kirk. And just for the record, for those that may be listening and, want to find fault in what we are talking about, because, they're trying to get everyone fired that has an opinion about this situation. They're coming against everybody that speaks out about it. And that's telling it in itself. And for the record, we are not racist at all. We talk about the facts, and the facts speaks for itself. Many people may have different opinions about different situations and topics of the day, or people's lives, or whatever it may be. Everybody's right to their own opinion. But facts outweighs opinions. And also, we have a right to the freedom of speech. Am I right, Mr. Grove? Everyone has a right to the freedom of speech. You can say what you want to say. Now, what you say may not be right. It may be. It's some things that people say are wrong. And then oftentimes, some things can be used against you, as they say, in the court of law. But at the end of the day, fact speaks for itself. And I'm going to talk about some of the things today because it's bothering me And like I say, I'm not a racist. I like to talk about the facts. And, again, let me say that it's a sad time and day when we have to use a weapon to speak for us. I'm saddened that this happened to Mr. Charlie Kirk or anybody. It shouldn't happen to anybody. Everybody's entitled to their opinion and their own beliefs. Now, got that out the way. Let me say this. We shouldn't force our beliefs on other individuals. And in doing so, we should not handicap other people from speaking out against your beliefs and how they feel. If we have no right to our opinion, if we have free speech, why do you come out and try to protect one opinion and not both? You're allowing one side to overshadow the next, and you're trying to shut up this side or this opinion because you only want this opinion out there. It's not right. Nobody should lose their job because they're voicing their opinions about what happened. Now, if it was a Democrat that got murdered in the middle of a street or speaking to a crowd, whether it's in the middle of the street, in a restaurant, in the backyard of somebody's house party, and then this young white guy comes up and he was a conservative and he shot this liberal or this Democrat, do you think that we would have the type of tone of that's being outspoken and the sensitivity that, if you talk about this, we're going to have your job taken away from you. We're going to get you fired and we're coming after you. We're going to punish you. We're going to put you in jail. You think that would have happened if that would have happened to a Democrat?
Not at all, especially if they were a colored Democrat.
And then again, this is a non-biased conversation. I'm not taking up for Democrats, and I'm not taking up for conservatives or Republicans or whatever you want to call it. I'm taking up for human life. Black, white, blue, green, Christian or non-Christian, Muslim, whatever you may want to call yourself. If you are living and God gave you life on this earth and you have a right to express your opinion, be free, let that person be free. Let that person speak their opinion, express their opinion, express their beliefs. We don't fight against Catholics. We don't fight against Methodists. We don't fight against Buddhism. Or we don't fight against Pentecostal, Apostolic, Baptist, whatever you want. All these denominations out here, they have service every week, every Sunday in their own facilities, doing what they do. We don't find the Pentecostals going over here shooting up the Catholics, shooting up the Pentecostals. The Baptists and so forth, the Methodists, because they don't believe what the Methodists, Pentecostals, the Baptists, and the Catholics believe. We don't see that.
Right.
We don't see John Blow nightclub over here fighting with Sue Ann's nightclub over here on the west side because that club doing better than this club. If you don't like that club, go to the next club. If you don't like that club, go to the next club. If you don't like this church, go to the next church. Ain't nobody stopping you.
Good point.
So why do we find in the political world, in the climate, this political climate have gotten so far out of hand under the direction and leadership of this certain individual at the helm of our country, and he is scared to accept the fact and ashamed to accept the fact that he's causing this political outrage in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And then for somebody to come out and speak about it, they are wrong. They should be punished. They are not decent human beings. You want to talk about them as like they're dogs with no lives or common sense and no lives associated with them, like you're the only one that has it going on. It's dictatorship. That's exactly what it is. It's racism and dictatorship at its best. You got the Attorney General of this country. You got the FBI leader of this country. Going after individuals because they want to speak up and speak their mind about what happened about a certain individual associated with them, promote their agenda. Going around spreading hate. Some of the things that this young man have said in the past about other races, is very storytelling about who he is, what he believes, how he feels, and the people that he have promoted and supports, it represents them as well. And then, not only that, Mr. Grove and my listener, not only that, it was their own kind. It came from their own political party, and they want to downplay it.
Yes.
Now we find out, he came from a conservative family. His mom and father, sisters and brothers, whatever it may be, was conservative. Utah is a majority, 90% conservative state. Very few liberals out there. And now that it was a young white man, shot another young white man, a conservative shot another conservative, because one conservative may have had a better opinion than the other, had a little more common sense than the other. Downplay this. We cannot let this get out. We got to take control of the narrative in the conversation. It's not about us. We ain't doing anything wrong. It was just one individual, that had a mental breakdown. He had a gun, and he just came out there and shot the young man because he was mental. Mental. Every time something happened on that side of the fence, it's mental. Right. Mental.
True. A defense.
And I'm tired of us accepting all this propaganda, this false propaganda, and perceiving it as if it's true. And you got a lot of us folks that support the ideas and the theory and the rhetoric of these people. And my question to you that support this, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? What are you searching for? What are you hoping for? You think Donald Trump is going to come down and pat you on the back because you said, amen? I heard this saying, Marcus, I hate to be so upset today, but I always heard this saying, say you either stand for something or fall for anything. And I in this day and time, man, I see us standing very little for the truth. And we're falling for anything. Anything goes now. You can say anything. You can do anything. You can dress any kind of way. I mean, man, if my wife leaves out the house, if I was married, and her hair wouldn't comb, she going in a dress, a robe. She dressed in a robe and got her pajamas on, flip-flops, and talking about going grocery shopping, I'll be upset, man. If my children will leave out my house like they don't get no home training and go out there and cussing and dope out or pulling the gun out, I'm going to have some serious questions. And back in the day when I was coming up, Marcus, if you lived next door to me and you knew me and you know my kids, you could chastise my kids. I don't have nothing to say. But now if you say anything to my child, you was wrong and we got a problem.
Right.
We don't have that community and neighborhood connection no more. We don't have the understanding as adults anymore. I mean, everybody want to be right. Nobody's wrong. And it's creating a serious disbelief in our community, tearing our communities apart. We're already not supporting one another, regardless of what you're black, white, blue, or green. I mean, it's becoming a nightmare. And at some point, we got to get a grip on this and understand that we have to be better than this. We wasn't created to be fighters to one another. We was created to love one another. The Bible said that how can I love Mr. Marcus Grove? How can I love God if I hate Mr. Marcus Grove? I can't love God if I hate my brothers and sisters that I see every day. And we use this Christianity, this faith, religion, as we love God, God purpose, God divine, God driven, all of this stuff, man, it's fake. I'm going to call it as it is. It's propaganda and it's fake. You are not a Christian. And I'm saying it right here on the Uplift Buzz podcast. You are not a Christian if you promoting hate, promoting division and racism. It's not of God. That's not love. And you can't tell me that you walk around here promoting Christian values, Christian faith. You know, you are a Christian conservative. No, you are not. And if you can't come out and speak against it and speak truth over wrong, you are wrong just as yourself, as the next man. You're covering it up. You are wrong as well. Now, I'm going to leave the last few words on that subject to you. Because there's a lot of other things I want to say, but I know the time is moving on. But I'm gonna leave the rest of the last few words on that topic to you, Mr. Grove.
Well, just to piggyback on what you're saying, I think that it's important to note that to be Christian and like you said, and to hate or not even realize the power in other races or the power in God's people and who He created, regardless of color, is hypocritical in nature. And I think that a lot of times conservative Christians to be conservative Christian or a liberal Christian is just not even a thing, right? You should be a Christian, right? Or in that case, just don't call yourself a Christian. Just try to be something else other than, because if you can't see and love opposite races or opposite organizations who may differ in what you differ in opinion on, then that's a problem. To lean upon the idea of Christianity when in fact everything that comes out your mouth is about hate is an issue in itself. For me, I totally am 100% about, killing another person, especially based upon just because they do spill hate. But at the same time, the spilling of hate should have been stopped, should have been mitigated in a lot of ways. His own parents should have said, "Hey, Charlie, this is something that you shouldn't be talking about." His own church family should have said that. He had it was a lot of opportunities for people around him. If his wife had any sense, she should have been the one who said, "Hey, Charlie, um, let's be more Christian," you know. And the last thing I have to say on that is, for everyone, regardless if they support or defend this whole issue, I think it's important to imagine what life would be like if Charlie Kirk in 20 years had some type of power, some type of leadership position like a presidency, what life would be like. He already said that there should be mass executions. There should be he would be worse, a million times worse than Donald Trump. So I think that in a lot of ways, we as Christians do leave things in God's hands and say, everything happens for a reason. We do believe in karma. We do believe in God taking the wheel and taking control of things. And I just don't believe that, God would purposely, commit something of an act like this. But at the same time, who am I to understand what God is doing? God is more of a mysterious creature who we don't have all the understanding to. And things do happen in this world. And I think that in a lot of ways, karma is something that's not studied enough, that we have to understand that if, for example, his wife, his pastor, his mom and dad did say, "Hey, let's not go down this road," then, in all of my beliefs, I believe Charlie Kirk would still be alive. So if the more Christian way of doing things was present, he would still be here. And that's not to say that I 100% fault him for not being alive today, but a lot of it is his parents, a lot of it is his church, his family, his supporters, who supported him. And I have to say, and one last thing, I have to say that a lot of people's motivations in the United States are based on the capitalistic idea, getting money. You know, if we look at how much money uh, Charlie Kirk had in 10 years ago versus today, you would realize that is significant increases in money. And a lot of times, a lot of people are doing things, especially this younger generation, based upon money and the need and the desire to get money, especially what we call conservatives, especially what we call, capitalistic minded people, or people who believe in that individuality versus communalism. You know, the need to get money and to keep money is forever present. And so this could be another just act of compulsive desire to become rich and famous. And I think that in a lot of ways that we have to realize that. And so, you know, it's not so much different than any other person from the Western world who have lived. The need for money is forever present. So that would be, you know, the sum of what I have to say in regards to this.
Mr. Grove, I heard you say it may have been his family, it may be his church family. Who to say he was a part of the church? Who say he attended church? You think? I mean, I don't know him personally. I don't know his background that well. You know, outside of being part of and Turning Point USA. But I can't fault his pastor if he had one. Because I don't know his pastor. I don't know what his pastor teaches or believes. But at some point, as you said, there should be a leadership role somewhere to say, I think you're taking it a little bit too far. You don't want to, you know, cause rift where, you know, all of this stuff backfire. The tone is getting a little bit, you know, too serious. But, you know, I agree with you on that. But I just don't know if there was a spiritual leader involved.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was, I mean, I would like to know more about that spiritual leader. You know what his beliefs were. I mean, what do we preaching and practicing? Because I believe we should, you know, practice what we preach. But man, and like I said, this is sad. This is sad that it happened to Charlie Kirk. It's sad that an individual had to take it out on another individual in this such nature. You know, and gun violence is real. And you know, it's this talk, these racist talks about, you know, oh, it's not white on white crime, you know, it's not white violence. I mean, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to talk about that. It is what it is. You know, it was a white guy that shot another white guy. Okay, it was a white guy that picked up a gun and used the gun and shot another white guy. It wasn't a person of color that committed this heinous crime. It was a white guy. We often beat down on African Americans and Hispanics and people of color as crime originators in this country. You know, they are the bad guys. But there's many times that it's go untelling and untold about the crimes that happen in the white community. Now, this show, again, let me introduce this show as non-biased conversation. And it's not a racist show. We're not taking sides with one or the other. We are bringing you facts. And we're having a clean, adult conversation about what's happening today and yesterday and what may be happening tomorrow. But the crime is not only happening in black neighborhoods. That's crime that's happening every day. In all neighborhoods, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Japanese, Vietnamese, Indian, whatever community there's something that's happening. No one is perfect. Now, don't get me wrong. There may be some crimes and nature of crimes that's happening more in certain neighborhoods, but I don't think I'm wrong by saying that crime is happening in all neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
whether it's with a gun or the shoplifting or corporate theft, a white collar crime. It could be. As I strolled up and down my social media pages and my news sites where I get my information from, I see a lot of these pedophiles, child rape, molesters, sexual abuse. We don't talk about all of that. We don't talk about that. That's crime. It's a crime for a man to come and lay his hands on my 10-year-old or 9-year-old daughter, and she's a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crime.
It's a crime.
It's a crime when you are a CEO and you steal your company's money. That's a crime. Because why? That money then belongs to you. So whatever form and fashion crime may happen in, crime is crime. And I say that to get to this, Mr. Grove. We know we got this mayor race coming up. That's going to be over in a few days, less than a week, here in Mobile and many across the state that's in the runoff. And all of these comments relating to Barbara Drummond, a black female. And I'm not taking up for Barbara Drummond. I'm only talking about what I'm seeing out there. Don't vote for Barbara Drummond because she's black and crime is going to skyrocket. All this race baiting. We know you're a white person, and 9 times out of 10 you weren't gonna vote for it anyway. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna put it out there. There's no way to sugarcoat it. But using that as a way to cultivate your message. Mm-hmm. To intimidate someone not to go out there and cast a ballot for someone they believe in or they believe that's more experienced or worthy of that position because you want to use race baiting and crime as a tool to scare people from voting for an individual, you're sick. You're sick. Mm-hmm. Why we can't talk about Judge Spiro Chirigadis sitting on the bench as a district judge sending criminals back to the community to commit more crime. Not only that, but before he got there, he represented those criminals, got them off, plea deals and all of that type of stuff, and got paid for it. And they went back out there and created the same crime over. Then after that, he became an assistant district attorney, prosecuting, getting the plea deals and sending them back out there. Matter of fact, I never heard of him until he ran for office. A judge.
Same here.
So, if you want to talk about facts, let's talk about the facts. Let's talk about the facts. Barbara Drummond ain't been out there arresting nobody. Barbara Drummond ain't been out there sentencing nobody. Barbara Drummond is in a minority party, in the Democratic Party, in the state of Alabama, where she really can't get nothing done in the state house to pass any laws that protects human life, individuals, from crime, but they're going through a Republican legislature that's going to shoot it down because they only want what they want in their language. So let's talk about the facts. She ain't never been mayor. She never held no other elective office outside of state representative. But she has been involved in helping our communities, all communities across the city of Mobile since she was at City Hall. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not taking up for Barbara Drummond. This show is not about Barbara Drummond. It's about the facts and what's going on centered around this upcoming election.
Right, and it's racism. At the end of the day, it's not about parties. We talk about political parties. I think that's like a facade over reality. But what it really boils down to, it's not even class anymore. It's not classism. It's not political affiliation, is race. And at the end of the day, Barbara Drummond is African-American female. Okay, it's not even about gender or sex. It's not even about that. With white males, it may be. White females, should vote for a female. But at the end of the day, they elect to go against the female to go for their own race. And I think that because of this national political leader that we have and the stage of time that we're in, they're more prone to go with their own race, even if it's faulty, even if it's a contradiction to their own gender or sex. They're more they're more inclined to go for Spiro than Barbara Drummond.
And we're going to pick this conversation up right after this break, and we're going to dive right back into it, man. I'm telling you, it's just so much happening that we really have to scratch our heads and pray to keep many of us from actually really speaking our true minds about certain things. And as I said, we are entitled to our opinion and our thoughts, and we do have a freedom of speech. But there is a suppression that's coming down from the top to the bottom, man. They don't want us to say anything at all. Again, this podcast, Uplifting Buzz, being presented to you by Uplift Mobile and Buzz Report Media, and we are having clean and common sense, non-biased conversations about the hot topics that are happening in and around Mobile and that affect us all as a whole. As we was talking earlier about this Mobile Mayoral race and runoff and racism that's centered around it because there's a black female and white gentleman, young gentleman that's running for mayor. And I've been reading a lot of these comments. People first, we don't want to go backwards. How are we going backwards? By electing a black female. Excuse me. How are we going backwards? I don't see it. I think we're trying to come from where we were.
Exactly.
We're trying to progress. And if you ask me, I feel that we are pushed backwards further than we came. If you want to know the truth, a lot of things are happening that not beneficial to all. It's beneficial to certain individuals, and I think that's what one side want to continue versus the other side. I did an article on Uplift. On Buzz Report that we published yesterday, talking about the mayoral runoff and the two candidates, legislative versus judicial candidate. And we interviewed some individuals, and one individual brought up the comparison of Greer's grocery stores and their candidate that's married to the owner of that legacy, Spiro, and how you go to the black community and you see the disparity of them stores in the black community versus those that are located downtown, out on College Hill Road, out in Georgetown or whatever it may be, on Dolphin Island. If you go to the black neighborhoods and go into a Greer's, you see rundown stores, leaking roofs, bad produce, vegetables, food and meat, so forth. No beautification of the buildings. But if you go to the one downtown, you got a nice restaurant in there. You go to the one down in Dolphin Island, you got the same. You got clean stores. Nice uplifting, the presentation of the outside. They put that as a comparison. And all of these years you've been serving the community, is that how you serve one side of the fence? That's an example of what we're talking about. And I asked a question earlier for those that support stuff like this. What are you looking for? What are you hoping for? I mean, for somebody or group of people that have been on our neck, they had their feet on our necks for all of these years as we try to rise to the top. And you continue to go out and support that type of belief. What are you looking for? At some point, as I said, a week ago, a couple weeks ago, people died and shed their blood for this cause. That we can be able to voice our opinion, be free, have a right to vote. And we still sitting around here being petty, because we're looking for something. We got our hand reached out, want somebody to put something in it. We're thinking we're going to get something, and we're not. We are turning on our own communities. There's no unity there. And, I'm just trying to figure out what people are looking for. But why do we have to inject racism and sexism into this race or in a race? In a race. Whatever political office you're running for, you have a right to go into that polling place and that booth and vote from whomever you want to, silently. That's your right.
Mm-hmm.
But to come out openly and insert all of these accusations and these false facts about an individual is pretty wrong. It's pretty wrong. So, Mr. Marcus, enlighten us. How should we take this?
Yeah, so the reality is that for people who identify with being conservative in America, really have not truly grasped the idea or accepted the idea that America is a democracy. In a lot of ways, they still want to be able to put in office whoever they want, regardless of having a democracy or not. In a lot of ways, we're not really too much far off from King George III in England. In a lot of ways, people still desire to have this king and to put exactly who they want in office, regardless of anything else. In addition, we're not too far off from the black codes or the Jim Crow laws or any type of polling place discrimination or intimidation where people were turned away, ran away, and lynched and killed just because of their color. You never know that person coming in could have voted for the same person you voted for, but because they didn't look like us, we accepted in our minds that they would probably vote for somebody else other than who we voted for. It's that in-group, out-group theory that we, as people, have still a struggle in realizing that maybe that person that doesn't look like us may actually vote for the same person that I voted for, or maybe I can vote for the same person that person votes for. Just and in addition, because of that same idea, I think that people are voting for Spiro just because that person looks similar to them, when in fact they voted for Connie Hudson or Paul Prine, and were vehemently talking against Spiro. But now that Spiro is the only choice that is a Caucasian male, that is who a lot of people want to vote for. It's accepting that outlier that's in that in group just because of ignorance, because of defiance to a system that the founders of the United States have created. In a lot of ways, they want to still hold on. A lot of people talk about why we want to go backwards. And in fact, conservatives desire to keep the status quo the same. They don't want to go forward. They want to stay in the situation that they're in and actually go backwards. That's the whole motto of Donald Trump's campaign. Let's make America great again, right? As alluding to going back into the past. So,
and what's so strange and surprising? Like I said, I never heard of Spiro until he ran for office. But now, man, you see him going into black churches asking for prayer. It's just pretending, man. This man is not serious. This man don't care about no black church. If you did, why now come into the black church? Because you want to be the mayor. You want the black vote. Why you couldn't come to my church last year? Why you couldn't come to my church when you was a judge and talk about crime? So if crime is the top number one concern to you, You know, when you was a prosecutor, why you didn't come to the black neighborhoods and recreation centers and events and talk about crime and what you can do and how and what you're doing to curtail crime? You know, why now? Why you need a hug from our black pastors and handshake from the parishioners in the black churches with photoshops and cameras? Like, oh, you really care? Why you walking into Tomerville Healthcare Center? You know, like you really, really care? Why you haven't walked in 2 or 3 years ago as a normal citizen? You know, now all of a sudden you want to, you know, get these black people on your TV screen talking about, oh, Spiro is the best man for the job. No, he's not.
Mm-hmm.
My question is how much you got paid to say what you said, you know, or again, what are you looking for?
You know, and when it comes down to also holding in-group members accountable, I think that conservative Americans or Caucasian Americans do a very good job in holding their affiliations or their people in their groups accountable for their actions. You know, that actually keeps them aligned in a lot of ways, regardless of where you live, regardless of what your religious affiliation is. When it comes down to that agenda, it keeps them aligned. I think that people here, especially in the South, Black Americans, don't hold their leaders accountable. I did see what you're talking about as far as pastors bringing Spiro into the church. Like, why is that happening? You know, why are we allowing such things to happen? Yeah, you can do whatever you want in your church, but now that church should be blacklisted. Okay. You know, that church should be an outlier, should be put on blast for such a thing. When you have a perfect candidate, Barbara Drummond, who you could have done the same thing too. Now, if you would have done the same thing with her and Spiro, okay, then we're providing a basis for, you know, equality. But if you allow for, just because that person requested to come into your church and you bring him in, lay hands on him, pray for him, as if he's already the mayor, right? That church should be put on blast. That church should be an outlier in our community and should not be attended and should close their doors.
And you're right. You're right. And it's a sad, it's just sad to know that we just jump on the bandwagon for anything. We don't stand for something. We just fall for anything. Somebody give us a piece of fried chicken, you know, we their best friend. You know, somebody give us a fish fry. That's the best thing they done for us. You know, is that all you worth? Is that all you worth? Ask yourself that. Are you worth anything better than a piece of fried chicken? Are you worth anything better than a piece of fish or a cold soda? You know, looking at this and looking at the two candidates we have, Spiro have never held elective office outside of a judge. Something that he's been involved in majority of his life, you know, being an attorney and stuff like on the legal side. But you have a candidate that's been on the legislative side that actually runs government. You know, a more that knows how to get in on day one and who knows who to contact and what to do on a legislative standpoint to make Mobile effective and a positive city. You know, and there was concerns early on in this race when Spiro jumped in that when Senator Stimson endorsed him. You know, Senator Stimson was looking to endorse somebody who's going to keep the same people in place, the status quo. What's going to bring change? We're going to continue to do what you do without me, but a due face. Not one time have you heard Spiro come out and say anything different or contrary to that belief. You know, not one time, and I mentioned, and this is in the article that we published on yesterday, there's no difference in the beliefs of Senator Stimson and his administration than Spiro. Spiro don't have his own agenda. If you listen to the commercial that he's running, the TV ads, every project he's promoting is being done by Stimson right now. There's no mention of anything new and anything different. None at all. Now, if you was all the outrage about the police department, the the conduct of our police department, the cover-ups of the acts of our police officers and the police department, how they have conducted raids and in the wee hours of the morning and shooting and killing innocent individuals and not releasing body cam footage and it going under the rug. And you telling me you rather go vote for somebody that's going to promote and do the same thing that the current administration is doing, and you were hoping and wanting something different? And versus somebody seasoned and more experienced. Now, I'm not endorsing a Barbara Drummond. I'm not saying you go out there and vote for her. I'm just bringing the fact. There's a clear difference in this race.
It is.
And experience should always outweigh non-experience.
Mm-hmm.
I understand you have been an attorney. I understand you may know the law a little bit. You know the criminal law. There's civil law. There's government law. There's sports law. There's family law. There's all type of law. But this is an individual that has been in public office that knows how government operates. And this is not her first run in City Hall. She's been there, just in a different capacity. But I'm just saying, just because she's a black woman, it should not play a part of who you're voting for. It should be experience. That's what I'm saying.
The lack of experience that Spiro has, the fact that he's not truly from Mobile, he did make it to be a judge, which does not say a lot. In the city of Mobile, city of Mobile has a way of promoting Caucasian lawyers to be judges right off the bat. If he was a young black male who was a lawyer who had the ability to be a judge, it wouldn't have happened. I mean, the percentage of black judges that have crossed down in City Hall since the inception of the city of Mobile has been very few. You can almost count on one hand. I think that in a lot of ways, and to keep on the non-biased standpoint, I think in a lot of ways, people are afraid of having a female as well. That is a big thing. Whereas, the people who really should turn out is females, but white females have a way of not going against their race, which I find for them is quite a controversy because they're born female, but they're also born white. But the idea of being female comes into play faster within children than being white. Little kids know what they are at a young age, whereas being a certain color or what color is comes later on. So in a lot of ways, the allegiance to the female should be there over race, but it's just not, right? Because of the need to promote that whole agenda. And it's tied strictly to the party system as well, which is an unfortunate thing in America, which is quite controversial because prior to the 1940s, conservatives were known as Southern Democrats. They were not known as Republicans, but after the Civil Rights Movement, they switched from being Southern Democrats to being Republicans. So in mass, actually, it was like a mass exodus out of the Southern Democratic Party. And only because the Southern Democratic got so much bad publicity during and after the Civil Rights Movement. So now they call themselves Republicans. So in a lot of ways, we have to, I think that when you're talking about falling for anything, whereas black people have a tendency for falling for different things, I think that in a lot of ways, when you talk about the old school idea of submission and what area of people are more submissive than others, I would really say that it's conservatives. They have a way of aligning strictly to their own beliefs and not giving to any others, whereas liberals have a lot of ways of accepting different things. And I think that's primitive to just who we are as people, individuality versus communal type of behaviors. And dealing with this party here in Mobile, I think that, in order to, I find it strange that people like Paul Prine have not come out and gave who he's voting for or who he's going for. I know that he's a Trumper. And at the end of the day, of course, you would think that he would go for someone like Spiro. But we have to understand and remember what he got fired for in the first place. He got fired for in the first place for going against uh, Sandy Simpson and on the idea of Sandy Simpson and the city council, of course, they're at fault as well, giving away a contract worth over $100,000 to some mom and pop business in Florida that said that they can hear gunshots, right? Uh, and the premise behind that whole whistleblower that Paul Prime became was him saying that, hey, you're giving this contract away to this woman-owned business, but the woman that just started this business a couple of days before this contract ended or was set to begin, she don't have any type of understanding of what is needed to create this technology. Her husband does. And
Mm-hmm.
so the contract was given to a woman-owned small business because it was a minority contract. And he was blowing the whistle on that because, in fact, white women are not minorities. This whole idea that white women are minorities is insane. They are not minorities. They get the same privileges that white men get. And
Yeah.
so he was blowing the whistle on that.
And
And
sometimes
so
better.
I would think that even though he's a Trumper, he would try to, or say that he would support Barbara Drummond because he did blow the whistle on fraud that Mayor Stimson committed with the city council in colluding with this contract. And in fact, because of that, all of the city council should be ashamed of that contract. They should really look at these contracts instead of giving them away to people outside of Alabama, outside of Mobile, and then outside of Alabama. Uh, when they have a lot of misrepresentation, fraud, and nobody truly understood Paul Prine and was really trying to listen. He was trying to allude to fraud, not only fraud, but also um, the misrepresentation of white women trying to be minorities when
Mm-hmm.
they are not, just because of their female. And so, whereas when they're voting, they will go for their race, but when they're trying to get contracts, they will go for their gender. And it's such a contradiction it's such a contradiction and controversy with that area.
Yeah, and the next thing that I would add to this, a lot of us didn't even go out to the polls to vote in the last election on the 26th of August, and that was very disappointing. In order for you to effect change and make change happen, you have to get out to the polls to vote. That's your right, and it's your right to stay home. That's your right as well. But if we talk about it as in a way that we need change, you have that in the palm of your hand. You ought to change. You create it. You make it by going out there and casting a vote for what's right. Take a look at the campaign finance reports. And I know there's a lot to cipher through, and a lot of people don't understand it. But Spiro has millions of dollars in this campaign that were donated to him in this race. And it's not going to come from individuals. You're not going to see individual names on there that have given to the campaign. You will see political PACs. And they have given their money to political PACs to give to their candidate so they can hide their names. And a lot of these people that have, been involved with these government contracts and right now, attorneys have brought to my attention, a lot of the attorneys that gave to this Spiro, they gave through these PACs so they can continue to support their agenda. They know that Spiro is going to be the one that helps them in the long run, continue to help them get contracts and do business with the city. They got to stay on the good side. but that's who they want, and they hiding their money through these PACs, and they'll continue to give their money to Sandy Simpson's administration through spiritual goddess, and that's their candidate, that's their man, that's who they want as mayor. But that is what it is. That's who they want. So be it. But the people is who decides who's going to be the mayor. And it's your choice. Don't let money buy you and dictate you. You dictate money. You go out there and make your voice heard, and you vote. You vote your heart, your mind, and your interests and your values, and what you think is best for your future. Not letting nobody predict your future for you. They want to see certain people held back. They don't want to see people progressing. And the climate that we're in, we need somebody that's going to stand up to it. And me personally, like I said, I hate to say it this way, but I don't think Spiro is that person that's going to stand up to Donald Trump.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
All right.
I think we're better off voting, getting out and voting. I definitely think that this turnout in voting will be way less than it was, which is unfortunate. But I definitely think that we should, get out there and vote for sure.
And we'll get into some of those numbers on this Thursday about the areas that should increase their voting around the city that didn't vote this last go around. And we're trying to break down some of the differences between the two candidates. We haven't had none of the candidates on our show, but we'll break that down coming up Thursday since the election is coming up on Tuesday. And we'll also dive into Pritchard mayoral race. It's a runoff over there as well. I think this is going to be a close one. But we'll talk about that one as well on Thursday. Anything else you have, Mr. Grove, before we get out of here?
Well, September 5th was a Friday when the District 2 City Council member, William Carroll, filed his lawsuit petition against Samantha Ingram. And now it being September 16th, 11 days later, she has still not been served. I think that that's very interesting. And William Carroll has already paid his $25,000 bond. So I find all of this a week ago, he paid it. I find this all very interesting that she has still not been served yet.
So what do you think going on?
Well, if I was in the same situation, I wouldn't look out for being served either. Will I be hiding from it? Well, it is actually a little beneficial to not be served and just to get into that seat. One, it brings down people's concerns or cares. It brings down the heightened ability for people to even consider the situation. With more longevity, people stop caring so much. And additionally, time is not on William Carroll's side with this. Sure, she can get served later on after she's already in that seat. But will a judge vacate that seat while she's in it is a little bit more troublesome and controversial than if they vacated the seat prior to her getting in it. So, if I was her, I would definitely wait it out to see. Do you know when that date is that they will assume the seat?
November 3rd. I think it's November 3rd. Wow.
With it being the 16th, the election next week, the mayor election, if she can wait it out another month and a half, then she would be in an advantageous spot because, like I said, vacating that seat after she gets in it would start a riot. It would start a protest, right? Because people want to see her versus William Carroll.
Yeah, you're right. But the downside to all of this is that, the people have spoken, the election is over. And if push comes to shove, a new election is ordered in that district here in the city of Mobile, more of the citizens' tax dollars have to be spent to have an election, and then more going to have to be spent if a runoff has to be held. So you're looking at, the expenses there, the cost of an election, even though it's one district, one race, but it's cost. That's going to cost way over $200,000, estimate. But and then, you have to look at, who's going to be in that race. How are the people going to go then? Do they get discouraged or more fired up? Do more people get fired up and come out? There's a lot at play here.
Yeah.
And it also can create a lot of hate. And we're already in bad political times. And my opinion, just let it be. You always can come back the next round and, fight for it again. But if she's proven that she's here, she's a resident, she did it in time, you can't knock her. Now, if there's something, like I said earlier, I always say, if there's something concrete out there that we don't know anything about, that we should know, go ahead and put it out there, and let's speed it up, so the people of District 2 can have their fair representation at City Hall, and they can get this behind them. This is a drag, and it's going to cause the people in District 2 not to have a voice at the table at an important time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, it's been another great show.
It's now time to dive into non-biased and clean conversations with Uplifting Buzz Podcast.
And we
with your hosts, Gary Johnson and Mark. Dive into non-biased and clean conversations
about this
with
show.
Uplifting Buzz.
So it's only going to get better for Uplifting Buzz, and we ask you all to like us on Facebook, and all of our social media pages. Visit our website at www.upliftingbuzzpodcast.com. Be sure to like and subscribe to our episodes and be able to get them every time they drop. Also, be sure to share with your friends and loved ones, and ask them to take a listen and come aboard and be a fan of Uplifting Buzz Podcast. And we bring you non-biased conversations, and it's brought to you by Uplift Mobile at upliftmobile.org. Also, Buzz Report Media at buzzreportnews.com. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Marcus Grove. Until Thursday, we say thank you for listening, and please join us again.